Okay, so I've got my operator sounds here. For the first bass, I just had a just a simple sub bass, one oscillator set to a sine wave with a small LFO on the triangle, just on the frequency of that oscillator, modulating that, and I just turned the filter, high pass frequency down to about 6 kilohertz. So it's just a real basic sub sound. So very simple. My next one is more of a sort of electro bass type sound. So for this one I used a square and a saw wave, and I detuned the frequency of that and just experimented with the different voices for that one. I also had a low pass filter with a hard shaper to sort of retain the fullness but not so much harshness in the saw wave. And I also adjusted the drive volume to sort of suit the taste, I guess. And then just a very basic EQ afterwards. So a bit more crunchy, that sound. For the pads, I had a saw and a sine wave, and I boosted their volume up a little bit. I also increased their attack times, decay times, and release. So I wanted a really sort of warm pad tone. I had the LFO on both oscillators for this one, and I used the sync to sync them up to every third beat, just a very small amount. Low pass 24 dB filter on that one, quite low, 375 Hertz for that one, and brought the resonance right down as well. So, and I also adjusted the decay and release to sort of mimic the oscillators on those, so they were in sync. I also turned the tone right down on this one because I didn't want too much brightness. I just really wanted a real mellow sound, and sort of a little bit of EQ on that one as well, and a very basic chorus as well to make it sound sort of thicker. And then I also sent a lot of it to the stock reverb, which I just increased the decay time up to about 7 seconds. Okay, for the next pad I also used a sine and a saw wave. This time I had a bit more voices on this one compared to the other one, because I wanted a real more sort of brighter tone to this one, a more sort of 80s sci-fi type feel on this one. So I didn't really do much to this one. Yeah, didn't do too much in the way of the oscillators themselves. No LFO on this one, the filter, another low pass filter at sort of mid-range on this one. I increased the resonance because I really wanted a high, more hiss, bright sound to this one. I also increased the decay of the filter and raised the filter frequency enveloped to about 80% because I want most of the sound to be affected by the filter. I also lowered the envelope rate to sort of slow down the effect of it. And I also lowered the filter frequency modulation to sort of create that sweeping effect. And I also lowered the frequency key to sort of keep it not too bright, sort of keep that warmth in the bottom end of this one. And I also chucked a auto filter just at the end of it to create this sweeping effect, which I think is really quite cool. I also turned the tone up of this one pretty much all the way up, and just lowered the volume down a little bit because it was a bit too harsh in the top end. So that's the second pad. Okay, so we'll move on to the plucks now. The first one is just basically a single oscillator square wave. I changed the envelope to no sustain and a longer decay, and just reduced the peak of the oscillator itself by about 2 dBs. For this one I had a high pass filter on this at about 90 Hz with very, very tiny amount of resonance. I also changed the shaper to hard again on this one and lowered the drive. And I also increased the spread up to 100% on the stereo mix. I chucked on a ping pong delay. It's very basic, quite soft, just a very subtle effect. The slight EQ, another high pass filter on this one, and then this is just a reverb preset that I dragged in from the browser. I don't think I did much to that other than probably change the quality to a high, and also put a arpeggiator on to sort of create that a plucky type arpeggiator lead per se. Okay, and then for the second pluck, it was I used all the oscillators on this one, just all sine waves, and just set them to different levels. And I also played around with the coarse frequency on oscillator D. And I lowered the sustain on this one, and I also increased the attack quite a bit because it had quite an annoying click noise to it. I think it still does, but that tried to it sort of lessened it, the effect a little bit. So there was a small amount of LFO on this one. On oscillators A and D, they're the sort of main ones that you hear coming out of the sound, and I also increased the rate of that up just a little bit. Overall, another high pass filter at 75 Hz with no resonance at all. I also increased the tone up to almost 100% and brought the volume down. Put a small ping pong delay on this one as well, and the arpeggiator as well. I just used a preset from the the browser as well. The only thing I changed was the amount of steps I lowered, and I also changed the retrigger. Retrigger setting to beats mode. So that's the second part. I also drove up the reverb and delay on this one to give it a more sort of lighter, spacier effect. Okay, so that's my synthesis with Operator.